Alright, so we're moving into lesson 8.4. This is where you're going to take the rational expressions that we've been working with, and now you're going to multiply and divide these. If you're okay with factoring, this will probably be your favorite section. So basically the steps when you multiply or divide rational fractions are you have to factor every single piece of it, so factor anything that you can factor, and then you just look at what you have in factored form and see how things will simplify. And a lot of times it's going to be by canceling things out. So one thing I wanted to point out, I added a couple of videos to the 8.4 section that are not on your sheet. Because you're going to be doing a lot of factoring, I just have a couple options up here for how you can do your factoring. You know, depending on if you had me or if you're coming from another teacher, factor whatever works for you. So if the method that you're seeing in the videos doesn't work, that's totally fine. But these three right here, it's when you factor, let's say, something like 2x squared plus x minus 1 or something like that. If there's a number in front of x squared, you have to either factor with guessing and checking. There is this FIFO method, factor in, factor out. That was the new one this year. Or maybe you have some great other method that your teacher showed you. So I don't care how you factor as long as you are factoring correctly, because you do need to have perfect factoring for this section to work out. But take a look at those videos, and if it's not a way of factoring that works for you, that's fine. Just make sure that you can factor somehow. So you're going to see some examples on the multiplying and dividing of rational functions. This is just a rational function. I'm not multiplying or dividing anything, but just let me show you what happens when you factor and simplify. The numerator x squared minus 16 factors into x plus 4 and x minus 4. And the denominator, x squared plus x minus 12, will factor into, let's see, x minus 3 and x plus 4. So once you have everything factored, what you do now is you simplify, and you're going to look for anything in the numerator that might be the exact same as anything in the denominator. So you're kind of looking for sets of parentheses to cancel. And as long as it's something from the numerator canceling with something from the denominator, you're good. So you can see we have an x plus 4 here in the numerator, and you have another one down here in the denominator. So this x plus 4 will cancel with this x plus 4 because anything divided by itself equals 1. And then it leaves us with x minus 4 over x minus 3. Now the reason that we're able to cancel those is because multiplication is separating these sets of parentheses. Once you get down to this x minus 4 over x minus 3, this subtraction, either addition or subtraction in between terms, I cannot cancel my x's because of the plus and minus between those two terms. If I have x minus 4, I can only cancel it with an entire x minus 4. You have to separate with multiplication to be able to cross things off. So this is our final answer, x minus 4 over x minus 3. I thought I'd show you another quick example just because the denominator here has 4 terms, factor by grouping. I'm not sure if I have a video for that in this section. So again, factor everything. The numerator, x squared minus 9, that's your difference of squares, so x plus 3, x minus 3 over. Now, when you have 4 terms, we always factor the same way. It's called factor by grouping, and what you do is you group your first 2 terms together and group your second 2 terms together. Now you take a look at your first 2 terms and say, what can you factor out of both terms? I can take a 2 and an x squared out, and it leaves you with an x minus 3. Whatever your middle sign is, that's going to come down, so minus. And what can you take out of a 5x plus 15? A 5. And that'll leave you with, because technically it's a negative 5 that got taken out, it will leave you with an x minus a 3. So here's your check. If you're on the right track, your parentheses do need to match. You have an x minus 3 here. It has to be the exact same thing over here. If those don't match, then we've made a mistake and we want to take a look at it from the beginning again. So then your final answer, your x minus 3's, just go into one parenthesis, And then in the other parentheses, it's just this outside stuff. You have a 2x squared and then a minus 5. So that is our factored answer. We have x minus 3 and then 2x squared minus 5. And now that it's factored, you go to simplify and look for anything on the top that would cancel with the bottom. I see an x minus 3 and an x minus 3, and nothing else is the same, so our final answer will be x plus 3 over 2x squared minus 5. Now again, if we're not factoring correctly, there's no way for us to get a right answer, and so I'm going to hit you hard with grading on your factoring. Make sure that that you have your factoring down when you work on this section. Here's just a quick, when you're multiplying rational functions, again, you factor everything. This, we can take a 3 out and we're left with x squared minus 4, but we can keep factoring that. X squared minus 4 factors into x plus 2, x minus 2. Our denominator, now 5x minus 10, keep in mind that your simple factoring, can you factor anything out of both terms? And there you can. You can take a 5 out and you're left with x minus 2 times 1 over, and there's that simple factoring again, 2x plus 4. You can take a 2 out of both terms and you're left with x plus 2. Now, even though we have two separate fractions here, if you multiply fractions together, you really are just multiplying straight across. So everything in the top will stay in the top, everything in the bottom will stay in the bottom. So I just kind of think about it as making one big fraction out of these two, just because maybe I'm a little lazy and don't want to rewrite it. And now I'm looking for, is there anything on the top that would cancel with anything in the bottom? And I can see I've got x minus 2's and x plus 2, and that's all that I see. So for our final answer, we're just going to multiply whatever is left. We have a 3 times a 1, so just 3 over, and then we've got a 5 here and a 2 here, so we'll multiply 5 times 2 to get 10, so our final answer, 3 over 10. Alright, last slide, I just want to show you what division will look like real quick. And again, there's a video for each of these, so make sure you watch those two, just so you can see more of this. But first step, factor everything. So x squared minus 3x plus 2 will factor into x minus 2, x minus 1 over 25x. Now, here's the thing with division is you have never divided fractions. Anytime that you're trying to divide a fraction, instead what we do is we change to multiplication, and then you're going to flip your fraction. It's that multiply by the reciprocal. Or what is it, multiply fractions, my oh my, flip the bottom and multiply, or I don't know what they say, or flip the second and multiply. Anyway, we're going to flip this fraction. That 5x squared will go on the top over that x minus 1. And so in this step, if there was something to factor in that last fraction there, I would have factored as I was rewriting it. But now we're just looking for anything that will cancel, because we're multiplying, so we know it's going to multiply straight across. So really we'll end up with just one big fraction. I can see x minus 1's cancel. And then the other thing that can cancel is here we have an x, and here we have an x squared. So we certainly will be able to simplify that. And also there's a 5 and a 25 that we'll be able to reduce. So I'll start with the numbers. If we have, or maybe I'll just do this. Let's see, we have 5x squared, and we have an x minus 2. So that's everything left in the numerator. In the denominator, we have a 25x. So then when we go to simplify, work with the numbers. This 25 over the 5 reduces to 1 over 5. And then your x squared over your x, when you simplify that, you'll be left with an x on top. And then that x minus 2 doesn't cancel with anything. So I'll just make this look a little better. X times x minus 2 over 5. That will be our final answer. So really, this section is all about factor, cancel, see what you have left, and put it together. So not bad. Just make sure that you are spot on with your factoring.